everybody, thanks for joining me today on the Moneybag 73 channel. Anyone interested in reading an article that makes you want to get up and take a trip to your local coin shop, pick up some silver, is not going to want to miss this interview with Ted Butler, who goes in depth explaining about the silver manipulation. There was an interview from about 3 days ago on moneymorning.com, and I'll have it linked to my blog down in the more info section. I'll have it on my blog. The title of it is The Who, How, and Why Behind Silver Price Manipulation. And I don't know about you, I'm sure you experience this as well as I do, but people who have maybe picked up on my advice to get some silver, don't know much about the silver market, been asking me, hey, what's happening with silver, man? It's not doing anything, it's not going anywhere. And I always seem to jump straight to the manipulation. And then it feels like some conspiracy theory light bulbs go off in some people's heads, and there is obvious, blatant manipulation. I mean, I've seen it because I have a live charting that from when, I used to play around with the currency trading for fun. I still haven't done that in a while, but I bring up the live chart for silver, and I've seen it get hammered down $1 or $2. A lot of times late at night. We saw that it got hammered down $6 in one day last year. You can see in the chart where it's been hammered down. Well, Ted Butler goes into explaining how this is HFT, high frequency trading, and how it's a bunch of cells show up just for a split second to trick people into selling, and then they disappear. They were never intended to be cells. But you'll have to read. It's a real short read. You'll have to read it. I can't explain it as well as he can. But basically, they're tricking people into selling, and then the commercial banks are buying. They're not doing a lot of selling on these days that the price gets hammered. They're doing a lot of buying. They're tricking people into selling through this high frequency trading, and then they're buying. So there's a lot more going on than just the short, the huge short positions. Ted defines manipulation as controlling and dominating a market by having an extremely large position. But there's more to understanding it, what's going on with silver, than just the understanding the large short position held by certain commercial banks. I mean, there's two components at work here. There's a short position, and the other force is the high frequency trading. So if you want to be able to explain this to people, this is a real quick read and does a good job by probably one of the best people who could possibly explain the manipulation. When asked about long-term outlook for silver, Ted Butler said, his main advice is don't misinterpret the facts. There's a manipulation in effect, and that's causing the price to be much lower than it normally would. So he calls it a double-barreled bonanza. He says, in the one barrel you got a cheap price that you wouldn't normally have, if it wasn't being manipulated. And number two, you're going to have a much higher price when the manipulation is exposed. So he says to the best thing you do is not borrow any money to buy silver or buy it on margin. Just do a straight cash for silver purchase. That way you won't, I've done videos on this in the past. You won't get caught up in the greed and fear of trading. Don't trade, just buy and hold is the best way to play this silver market, according to Ted. I believe him. I don't think that I've had traders argue with me, that's just a stupid concept. Well, that's fine. If they can trade it and do well, I would imagine only a few, small percentage of people can do that, because especially when you're messing around with the manipulated market, the technicals have kind of been tossed out the window on trading silver, because you don't know when it's going to get hammered, unless you're a big time player. So anyhow, I'll leave you with a quote from Eric Sprott. He says, this decade will be the decade of silver.